Divorce doesn't just end a marriage, it can make you question who you are. After nearly 25 years of marriage, I found myself asking, is it too late to start over? Today, I am sharing the things that helped me to heal, helped me to rediscover who I am, and helped me to experience more joy than I knew was still possible in my life. So if you're wondering if your best days are behind you, then this video is for you. Just a little bit about myself. I am a planner and I plan to get married close to the age of 30. And I did. I had a list of everything I wanted in a husband. And believe it or not, I met someone who was everything on my list. We got married, and I assumed that meant that we would live happily ever after. However, that wasn't how my story ended. Turned out there were a couple of things that I forgot to put on the list. But at any rate, I never imagined that divorce would be a part of my story. The thing is, divorce is not just a regular breakup. Sometimes it feels like the death of the life that you thought that you would have. As I was going through the separation and I was going through the divorce, there were so many emotions that I had to deal with. I had emotions of feeling like a failure, but I did come to realize that yes, you can have a failure, you can participate in a failure, but it doesn't mean that you are a failure. I'm a Christian, so I was having some emotional struggles with that. I really felt like I was okay with God. I felt like me and God were good, but then there was the shame of going to church and having to deal with everyone else, thinking that people were going to judge me or to look down on me. There was some shame involved, some fear, a little bit of self-doubt thrown in there, and so many questions that I had about my future. I'm going to share with you 5 things that really helped me to heal and overcome, be victorious, and also to reinvent myself after the divorce. And I'm hopeful that they will help you if you are navigating just a really tough relationship change. The first thing that I would do is to find safe support. This would be a person or a number of people that would be a safe space for you, that you can talk to, that you can vent if necessary, that if you need to cry, they would be a shoulder to lean on, but people who can support you during this very difficult time. You may want to see a therapist. I actually saw a therapist at this time who was excellent because she was able to help me process some different things. So we looked at my past, and there were a lot of things in my past that because I had not addressed and I had not processed, that really came out in not only my selection of a spouse, but also how I interacted with that spouse. I had a lot of dysfunction in my childhood, and that played out not only in my romantic relationships but in all other kind of areas as well. So me having a therapist who was able to help me see what was going on was very, very helpful for me, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to divorce the father of my children, that I would never be in a relationship that was similar. You know how some people will divorce one person and then they'll marry someone who is very similar to their first husband? I didn't want to keep marrying the same person over and over again. The therapist was able to help me to see what had led to my decision making and also to my behaviors, and to help me to sort out my past and the present, and help me to even plan out some of the things that I wanted to do in the future. I also spoke with my pastor and his wife on a regular basis, and I'm so thankful that they were able to support me and give me biblical counsel as I went through this whole process. I appreciate them tremendously. My family, my friends, I had people that I can talk to who were supportive and they were helpful. I encourage you to find trusted people that you can talk to, that you can rely on, so that you do not have to heal alone. It is a process, it is a journey, and it is not a path that I want you to walk alone. So please find your person or your persons who can help you through this very, very challenging time. The second thing I had to do was to learn self compassion. I like to think that I'm a pretty compassionate person. I give people the benefit of the doubt, I will give them grace. But for myself in the past, I would sometimes be a bully. We talk about my inner voice, negative self talk, would just beat myself up. And I had to learn to stop doing that. I had to learn how to give myself the same love, compassion, and grace that I would give to a friend or a family member who were going through what I was going through. And because self compassion does not come naturally to me, I always have to put it in those terms. How would I treat a friend? Because I know how to treat other people. And once I figure out, okay, what would I think about this person? How would I speak to this person? How would I support that person? Then those are the same things that I will do for myself. I would never yell at a friend or a family member because they were experiencing emotional pain because of a divorce. I would never be mean to them. But myself, I had to learn how to love myself, how to take care of myself. And that was a really important thing in the healing process, because how are you going to heal if you're just talking to yourself like you're the enemy? You are not your own enemy. So you need to be supportive of yourself, give grace to yourself, and be a friend to yourself. The third thing I needed to do was to allow myself to grieve. Yes, I said grieve. Because even though I was the one who initiated the divorce, there was still a grief process. I grieved my marriage because when I got married, I thought it was until death do we part. So I was never thinking that it would come to divorce. I actually go to a marriage ministry. The mantra for this ministry is divorce is not an option. And I get it and I understand and I agree that when you have two people who are doing what they're supposed to do, that divorce should not even come into the picture. I get it. But because that had been my mindset when I did decide to get a divorce, it was a shock. It's weird how I can make a decision and it can still be a shock to my system, but it was because I'm a planner and I had already planned out how we were going to live. And I had thoughts of us enjoying our empty nest together, of traveling, of just living this great life, spending time with our grandchildren or great grandchildren. And I had a whole thing planned out, and the divorce stopped that. And so that story ended, and I had to grieve because marriage is a loss. And everybody else can't necessarily look and see what it is you lost. But it is a loss, and it was a loss for me. I'll say that. So I had to allow myself to grieve this future that wouldn't happen the way I had thought it would happen. And even how if there's a death, there's a different stages of grief. I went through all of those stages of grief. And I allowed myself to go through those stages of grief. So allow yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say, I shouldn't feel this way because, you feel the way you feel. And so it is what it is. So allow yourself, give yourself the grace to grieve. And, and just like we've all had someone that we know to pass away. And we know that there is a grieving process. We also know that the period of mourning will pass, and there will come a time where the sun is shining brightly and we enjoy the flowers and things get better. So I'm here to tell you, I am on the other side and it is so much better. So if you're still in the grief process, then allow yourself to grieve. If you feel like you need assistance with that, go into therapy, talk to your pastor, to your spiritual advisor, to friends to get help. But realize that grief is real and you don't have to try to minimize it. But know that you will get through it. The next step is to choose forgiveness. When a marriage ends, it doesn't end because everybody is being so nice, that everybody is 100% doing everything that they're supposed to do. That's not why marriages end. So I'm going to assume that someone, or probably both people, did some things that maybe were not exactly right. But it is in your best interest to forgive all parties involved, okay? So you need to forgive your ex, and it's not for him, it's for you. Forgiveness, because unforgiveness is bondage. It will hold you, it will cause you to be bitter and unhappy and vindictive and all kind of negative things. It'll eat away at your soul, at your body. Just too many negative things associated with unforgiveness. But with forgiveness, you have freedom. So the forgiveness is for you. So forgive your ex and then forgive yourself. And what are you forgiving yourself for? It could be how you responded to certain things. It could be things that you allowed, right? Sometimes people have to forgive themselves because they took too much, because it took them too long to leave. Because for me, I had to forgive myself because I felt guilty that my children did not get to see this loving marriage that I believe that they deserve to see. And I felt bad about it, but I had to forgive myself, because me feeling bad about something is not going to change the past, right? I can change the present and I can design my future, but I cannot go back and actually change what happened in the past. When I look at the past, I can reframe it. And one of the ways that I have reframed my past is that I learned so many lessons in my marriage, lessons about relationships. I'll learn some things, good and bad, but they are lessons that I can carry forth into future relationships. My marriage, it resulted in three beautiful, wonderful children. They are productive citizens. They are really good, kind people. And I appreciate that. I never want to look at my marriage and think that it was a bad thing, right? It happened. I was married and now I'm not, but there were some good things that came from it. And I will not dwell on any of the negativity, and I will not walk in unforgiveness. Because when I thought about it, God forgave me for so many things. He continues to forgive me. So who am I to say that I'm not worthy of forgiveness when God forgives me? So please forgive your ex, forgive your spouse, and forgive anyone else that was involved. And that is for you. The next step is to release shame. And I know that is easier said than done, but sometimes there's shame associated with divorce, especially if you're from a family where everybody stays together and then you're the one who got a divorce. You have to go to the family functions without a husband. And people are whispering or whatever because that's not what we do here. If you have parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles and cousins who are kind of throwing jabs or saying negative things, like that's a lot. But you're going to have to set boundaries so that no one is able to make you feel bad about your situation, so that no one feels comfortable saying anything negative to you about your relationship, because it is your life, right? And it is important to know that divorce does not define you. It's just one part of your life. You were born, you went to school, you got married, you had kids, you worked a job, you got a divorce. I mean, it's just like it's one thing that happened. It is not who you are, it is not your identity. Yes, a divorce happened, but it does not define your story. You still get to write your story. So that brings me to the next thing. After you go through those steps, now the reinvention can begin. You get to ask new questions. You get to create a new future. You get to decide what is it that you want. If you're like me, all of my children are adults. So that means pretty much I can do what I want to do. I'm not married. I don't have any minor children. So I'm freer to make decisions. My decisions will primarily affect me. So I'm in a perfect position to make a pivot, to do a career shift, to do what it is that I want to do. And if you're in that position, then take full advantage of it. I mean, even if you do have minor children, you get to create the vision that you want, right? Learn a new skill, do some personal development. So you never have to experience anything like that again. One of the things that I would tell single people at church is to serve in church, serve in your community, make an impact, because now you have more time. I mean, that's what I did. That's what I'm still doing. So I'm active in my church. I know that I'm making an impact in the lives of others. And when I was married, I didn't have as much time to give. So that's something that I appreciate. And that's part of my reinvention. And remember that whatever you're doing, you're not starting completely over. You never have to start from scratch again, because you have too many experiences, too many lived experience, too much wisdom, too much knowledge. You know too much to have to completely start over from scratch. Even if you were to start a new marriage, you know so much more about marriage than you did when you first got married. And we're going to use that to our benefit. If you are going through divorce right now, remember, your life is not over. The key takeaway here is divorce may have changed your story, but it does not have to define your next chapter. And you just need to take one step at a time. Every step you take in the right direction is progress. And please believe in your next chapter. You're the author. If you're like me, God is my co-author, and we are writing an amazing chapter together. If this resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe. And these two videos will help you as you reinvent your life after divorce. Until next time, be blessed.